So, good afternoon. I'll start with a question. How many of you have actually ever been sexually attracted by one of your cousins or second cousin? Oh, I don't see any hands, but I'm sure it happened. So you shouldn't feel guilty about it, because inbreeding actually has many advantages, and I contend that these advantages can actually play a major role in the process of speciation. So first, let me define what I mean by inbreeding and speciation. Inbreeding should not be confused with incest. Inbreeding is simply when matings occur between individuals that are more closely related to one another than if they were picked completely at random within the population. And speciation is the process whereby, starting from an ancestral population, you progressively end up with two groups of individuals who can breed very well within each group, but hybridization between the two groups is no longer possible, or at least very inefficient. So we can see that speciation will actually effectively result in some degree of inbreeding. But what I realized through my work is that the reverse is actually true. If within a population you get small groups of individuals that start to breed preferentially with one another, this will ultimately result in speciation. And this type of speciation will be favored by the fact that inbreeding has many well-documented advantages. The three main advantages of inbreeding are, firstly, that it favors the maintenance of good gene combinations together. The second advantage of inbreeding is that it allows the expression of favorable recessive characters. However, we know that inbreeding more often than not results in unfit offspring. And the third advantage of inbreeding is rather counterintuitive. It's clearly unfavorable to generate unfit offspring, but it's actually a great advantage for those who survive, because their genomes will have been purged from recessive mutations. Nowadays, human populations undergo extensive outbreeding, especially in the Western world. And my work leads me to predict that the advantages of such extensive outbreeding actually will be very short-lived, and that this kind of behavior will result in the accumulation of recessive mutations in the genomes. Thank you.
Monsieur?
Sorry, it wasn't so much fun as the previous time.
Not at all. Well, it's quite interesting, and I was just wondering about the fact that you say that it's better to have a reproduction in the same population, small groups of population, like in some valleys of the Pyrenees, rather than mixing population around the world. So it's not a good point for evolution of our society.
I completely agree with that. I think the Western populations are actually accumulating recessive mutations. The tendency of people is indeed to think of individual cases, but you should remember that when you talk about evolution, evolution proceeds by trial and error. There are many more errors than successes. And therefore, it's not because you get 10 errors or 10 even, les crétins des Alpes, for example, that you should throw the baby with the bathwater. The fact that you have so many varieties, so many races in the world, actually is a witness to the fact that populations are naturally structured. Populations are not extensively outbred. They do carry out inbreeding.
Well, thank you very much. Another big applause, please.